Hi gang, Rob here. It is the evening of 23 April 2013. I'm coming to you this evening with a good old-fashioned knife review. And this one is actually kind of special because the knife I'm reviewing tonight is first prize in my 100 subscriber giveaway contest. This knife in a couple days will be on its way to the subscriber to the Apostle P who during the contest referred the most new subscribers. So it's kind of a bittersweet review, and the knife we are talking about tonight, many of you might recognize it. It is the excellent assisted opening gentleman's folder from Kershaw, the Leek. One of several Ken Onion designs during the years that he collaborated with the guys at Kershaw. Now I've got to tell you that personally I am not a huge fan aesthetically of Ken Onion knife designs. My eye just doesn't generally get his work. Most of the blades that he's designed, either his customs or for Kershaw or lately for CRKT, have that sort of organically shaped recurve blade. I don't love it. I don't love to sharpen it. I don't like to use it for utility tasks. I've owned a couple. Still own a Kershaw Scallion, which is one of the family of the onion named blades. We have the chive, the scallion, and the leek. This is a leek, and this is sort of the one of these things is not like the others. One of these things just doesn't belong knife in the family. Old Sesame Street reference. I'm dating myself. Before I get into the discussion about the leek too deeply, I have to show you that old Case fixed blade Hunter I did a review on last night. I was putting it away, wiping it down, and it got me. Just nicked the end of my finger and cut it about 1/8 of an inch deep, and it bled like a stuck pig. But I digress. So the Leek is one of those Ken Onion Kershaws that doesn't look like the other Ken Onion Kershaws, and the reason it doesn't is because of this. This beautiful little modified Warncliffe blade, almost a straight edge. Just the slightest bit of belly right through here to sort of save the tip, in my estimation. So let's get into specifics. And by the way, I do love this little knife. There's only one reason I don't like it, and we'll get into that as the review goes on. Many of you might be able to guess. It has to do with this and this. Yeah, we'll get there. Okay, what we have is a knife that is 4 inches long closed, 7 inches long open, blade length of 3 inches. The construction is 420J stainless steel liners. Not drilled for lightness, by the way. Don't need to be. The knife only weighs 2.8 ounces. The scales are T6061 aircraft grade aluminum. In this particular model, hard anodized black and red smoke. Isn't it pretty? One of the neat things about the Leek series of knives is it is sort of a blank canvas for the aesthetic designers at Kershaw. There have been many variations, most of them with these aluminum scales, a couple frame locks, many different colorations, many blade steels, even a couple different blade shapes. They make one that's sort of a reverse tanto. Can't remember what they called it, but it came serrated for about the first third of the blade, with Kershaw's wonderful serrations. The steel on this knife it's only a couple years old, so it's I believe the latest version of the stock Leek. This is Sandvik 14C28N. What a beautiful steel it is. Well, it's just so good for an EDC knife. It's easy enough to sharpen. It takes a wickedly keen edge. More than adequate corrosion resistance, definitely a notch above AUS 8, and it holds an edge maybe a little better than AUS 8. I think Kershaw's process for producing blades out of 14C28N produces a knife steel that performs almost exactly like Cold Steel's AUS 8, except with better corrosion protection. And corrosion protection brings me to my next point. It needs to be really good at corrosion protection because of its bead blasted blade. While bead blasting is a very attractive finish for a knife blade, it does really expose lots of small surfaces, small rough surfaces to the elements. And small, rough, porous surfaces in a steel, even a stain-resistant steel, will be fertile ground for corrosion. So if you're going to do this finish on a knife blade, better make sure your steel is very corrosion resistant, and 14C28N is that. The locking mechanism on this knife is a pretty standard Michael Walker style liner lock. On this particular offering, it's nice and early. The locking liner makes full contact with the blade tang just barely, so we're looking at about 40% lockup, which is just awesome. The deployment method, take your pick. We have a very well designed flipper with some usable jimping, but not so sharp it digs into your finger. The flipper is very unobtrusive, which is made possible because the Leek has Kershaw's Speed Safe assisted opening mechanism, which is a little round piece of spring steel that's fashioned into a torsion bar, housed in one of the handles, attached into the blade by a hole in the blade tang. And as the blade rotates from the open position, we have no tension, no tension, no tension. Then we get to about 90 degrees and it starts to build tension in the torsion bar, and then it breaks over in a cam-like fashion and rests at home in the handle under no tension. And when you deploy the knife via the flipper, I'm going to try to do this slowly. We have no action, no action, no action, no action. And there we go. Now, if you are right-handed, you'll notice there's just enough space between that handle scale and that pretty well-designed thumb stud to bypass the flipper and deploy the blade via thumb stud. All you have to do is get it started and away she goes. For lefties like me, good luck with that. Probably not going to happen, especially with the clip invading that space. So if you're lefty, it pretty much becomes a flipper knife, which is just fine. Sometimes I'm not a big fan of assisted openers because of lack of ease in closing. Once your fingers sort of get used to it, though, not too bad with the Leek. It's definitely a great little fondler. It's one you can watch TV and brainlessly flip open and close without looking. But let's get back to these lefty issues for just a minute. It's a great little collectible. It is a great little gentleman's folder. But if you're left-handed, you've got some carry issues. The clip will not be moved to the left side. So you're kind of stuck with a very awkward clip position if you decide to go tip up. The knife just hangs at a funny angle in your pocket, especially if you're trying to put it in your left pocket. It doesn't even do too well in the right pocket. The knife really likes to be in your pocket in the tip down configuration. It just carries so much deeper. I mean, you're looking at that versus that. So this is where the clip rides on my knife. And even though it is sort of a right hand dominant knife, it's just fine to use for a lefty, just not perfect. What role do I see this knife being employed in? Well, it's definitely an EDC blade. What it excels in are things like slicing small food items, opening packages, and look at the tip. This is well, it's a scalpel. It's a splinter digger. It could perform emergency surgery, especially with the edge this knife is wearing. Now, it's not a hard use knife. Let's look at how fine this tip is. Wow. It's a needle. It's not going to be used hard. You're not going to pry with it. You're not going to move a screw with it. It's a great little gentleman's folder. Everyday carry gentleman's folder. Now, you could conceivably just remove the clip altogether or even carry it in the pocket with the clip on. Doesn't take up much space in the pocket at all. The quality of construction on these knives for the money is amazing. I mean, look at the finish on that aluminum scale. The way the scales and the liners and the backspacer all meet, I mean, we have no voids, no areas where anything protrudes. Just a super high quality, little lightweight, US made knife. You've seen the deployment speed. Let's look at the lockup. Now, this is a very thin knife. And I am kind of cranking on this thing. I've got no side-to-side play, no up and down play. The thumb studs act as blade stops, and you got a stainless steel stud stopping against a stainless steel liner. It's rock solid. Although it's not made for hard use, it will last a lifetime. Just a super well-built little knife. What Kershaw really does best, in my opinion, is build knives like this. Let's talk about this edge. This was one of the first knives I sharpened on my new Edge Pro Apex. You guys getting tired of hearing me talk about the Edge Pro Apex yet? Well, deal with it. So this knife got sharpened with a 15-degree primary bevel and a 20-degree micro bevel. Went through both compounds on my strop. Whoever wins this, I'm shipping this with a warning. It will lay you open if you're not careful. I should put one of those little disclaimer notes in the box like Lynn Thompson does at Cold Steel. You know, this knife is extremely sharp, caution, red letters, all that stuff. You're going to need it. I'm going to be sad to see this go because it's so outstanding at what it is. But I'm really going to be happy to put it in the hands of one of my YouTube buddies who I care about and who supports the Apostle P channel and what I do here. You guys are great. Hope this goes to a good home. I know it will. You're going to love it. That's the Leek. Great little knife from Kershaw. That's it for tonight, guys. Grace and peace. Have a good one.